And the total fare that it comes up with here is $779.22.
Without being logged in, without using any sort of mileage program or status, getting all those things is going to cost 779 euros. So now let me log in and book the exact same itinerary with my status, and you'll see there's a pretty big difference. It is Sunday, December 10th, 2023, and on this week's edition of Sunday Sofa Time, we're talking about flying for free. If you are somebody who flies 1 or 2 times a year, then it might make sense to sign up for your airline's frequent flyer program. But if you're really just flying 1 or 2 times a year and usually in economy class, the miles that you earn are probably not going to add up to anything that's really going to be useful for you. But if you're flying 6, 7, 8, 10 times a year, like I usually have to, then it definitely makes sense to sign up for the frequent flyer program for the airline that you're going to be using and try to use the same airline every time. And I know a lot of you probably know all this already, but I didn't realize recently how much value it has to stay loyal to one airline, gather all those miles, and turn those miles into rewards. And that's kind of what I'm going to get into today. I'm Morgan from the very unofficial travel guides. I travel all around the world to popular and not so popular tourist destinations to give you a very honest, unofficial look at what it's like to be there. And you might be surprised that it took me this long to figure all this out, but I fund all my own trips. I am not sponsored by any cruise line or theme park. Nobody invites me to come on their ship for free and tell you that it's fantastic. I pay for all my own expenses. So for many years, I was always just looking for what is the cheapest flight. I was not considering sticking with one airline. I was just looking for how can I spend the least amount of money to get from here to Orlando, for example. And now that I have been staying true to one airline or one conglomerate, which is KLM Air France Flying Blue, which basically is the same family as Delta Sky Miles, I realized that it really makes sense, and I want to show you how much money it can save you. And this is going to be another thing like the video I did last Sunday Sofa Time talking about how you can get a free cruise by spending money in the casino on a cruise ship. Of course, spending money is still spending money. And what I'm doing is using these points that I'm getting by spending money to get me things that I know I'm gonna need anyways for a cheaper price. And all the airlines have different plans with different perks and different partners, but the first thing you gotta do is start earning miles. Of course, the most obvious way to earn miles is to book flights. And this is also something that counts as the more you do it, also the more you earn. With KLM and Air France's Flying Blue, the higher the status you rise, the more miles you earn per trip. And the more miles that you earn, of course, the more miles you can spend. And what you can spend those miles on and how you can turn them into goodies is something we're going to be talking about in just a little bit.
Here I am on the Air France website. I am just booking an imaginary trip from Hamburg to Orlando, February 12th through the 19th. And what I wanted to show you first of all is if I just take this one here, the different fares offer a different amount of miles. So the miles are what you can spend on things like flights and upgrades, rental cars, things like that. Then there are also these XP points, which is something different. Those are what you collect basically for each trip, and those help you gain status, and the status gets you perks and goodies, and we'll be talking about that more later. But there's miles and XP points.
Another way you can earn miles, and this is something I definitely need to do more of, is booking with partners of the mileage program that you're working with. There are different hotel chains that work with the mileage programs. There are different rental car companies that work with the mileage programs. Yes, sometimes you do end up paying more if you want to collect miles, but you'll see that if you're somebody who travels a lot and needs a rental car a lot or needs flights a lot, in the end, it's gonna end up getting you more of what you want for less. And there's another super popular way to gain miles that I honestly know nothing about because it basically only applies to people living in, I think, the United States, and that is using credit cards that are set up to partner with the mileage programs, and then you earn miles for the money spent. And just by paying the annual dues for the credit card, sometimes that will even get you lounge access and other perks. I live in Europe, my bank accounts are here in Germany, and we don't really have plans like that for bank accounts that are attached to a European address. There is a partnership between my bank and Miles & More, which is Lufthansa's frequent traveler program, and I do use that. But these deals where if you sign up for this new credit card and spend like $1,000 in the first month, you automatically get 100,000 frequent flyer miles. We don't do that over here, unfortunately, because I would definitely profit from that. And so that's something that I really can't tell you anything about in this video, but hey, in the comments, please let me know if you have discovered some great credit card deals that are specifically for people who know they're going to be traveling a lot in the future. Which ones should you sign up for? Let me know down below, and then everybody else watching this video can check out the comments too. So those are the ways that I know you can gain miles: by booking flights, by booking with some kind of partner, by having a credit card that is connected to your miles, and then you can also just buy miles, but I haven't ever really understood why people do that. So that's something else you can tell me if you're more of an expert about this than I am. I get these mails from Air France and from KLM offering me to buy, you know, like 20,000 or 30,000 miles, and I don't understand why I would do that. It's usually more money than it would be to just buy a flight. There is one more factor to collecting miles and being a frequent traveler. That's something that also took me a long time to understand. And that is, when you travel, you're not only gaining miles, which are the points that you can convert into goodies, but you're also gaining status points. And status points will get you like gold status, silver status. It's always called something different in every different program. But earning this status by staying faithful to one airline and just booking a lot of travel with that airline, that is also going to get you goodies, really attractive goodies, that will also end up saving you a lot of money if you are traveling a lot. So let me just show you what I get now with my silver status on KLM's Flying Blue program. You can see here, I, at the moment, have 33,635 miles. I'm sure that some of them are going to be expiring, but that is what is listed here. And the benefits that I get for reaching silver status, and that is by gaining these, they call them XP points. These are points that you get per ticket booked, basically. I now earn 6 miles for each euro spent. I get priority check-in, baggage drop-off, and boarding. And let me tell you something.
This is so nice.
Listen, I know that when you're going on vacation, it is a fun thing, and the whole traveling experience, getting there, sitting in an airplane, that's part of the experience. But let me tell you, if you have to do it 6, 10, 15 times a year, the airport part of it, it just gets old. Getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get to the airport at 6 o'clock in the morning, and then having to wait in a slow moving line, and there's kids crying over here, and there's somebody yelling at an airport employee over here. That is part of the whole travel experience that I honestly don't look forward to hardly at all anymore. And so earning this status and being able to take the priority line to check my bag and then get away from that stressful check-in counter environment, it's really nice. It's one of the things that I am most happy about having this status for. I show up at the airport, I sashay right up to the counter, I give them my bags, and then I am off to security. Some airports also have a dedicated security line for people of silver status, but in many airports, silver status is not high enough yet to get you through that extra line unless I book like an economy plus or first class ticket. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I don't usually travel anything other than economy. However, I kind of have an inkling that Santa Claus is going to be bringing me an upgrade to first class for our upcoming Orlando trip. So stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe, press that thumbs up and the notification button, and then you get an update to know if it happened or not. Like I said, I kind of have a feeling, but it's not Christmas yet. Also, once boarding time comes, people with silver status or higher are allowed to be some of the first people on the plane. And now, if I'm flying internationally, I almost think,
I'm gonna be sitting on that plane for like the next 10 hours. Why do I want to get in there earlier?
you know what I mean? But it can be nice to get situated, get your bag in the overhead compartment or get it nicely situated under the seat in front of you, get everything sort of where you want it before everybody else starts getting in the plane and that whole, I wanted to say insanity ensues. That sounds a little dramatic, but there are enough videos online right now to let you know that yes, insanity has been ensuing in airplanes, especially in North America. Something about not having to wait in lines feels luxurious. The older that you get, what is luxury to you changes, and this is something that I definitely want to do a whole video about, is when you're traveling, what actually equals luxury? What feels luxurious? And to me, one thing that makes me feel like, you know, I've made it is not having to wait in lines. And so when they call the priority boarding people and I just can walk right onto the plane, I really appreciate that. And I've gotten that through just gaining this status. The next two things are things that really save money. And I'm going to show you exactly how much after I'm done talking about them. The first perk is that when I'm buying my ticket, I can automatically choose what seat I want to sit in. And I'm talking about the standard seats. I can't just, you know, book like the cheapest economy fare and then pick a seat up in first class. Of course, it doesn't work like that. But without the miles and without the status, if I'm booking the cheapest fare, that does not allow me to choose my seat in advance. And so, you know, depending on what flight you're booking, how full it is, and how many people you're traveling with, if you have to wait until check-in opens like 24 hours before the flight and you don't have a seat yet, you might not end up getting a seat together. And if you're traveling solo, you might end up getting one of those ugly middle seats.
Don't nobody want that.
If you want to be sure to get a certain seat in advance, you're going to have to pay more for that service. And then there's the checked-in bags. This is a trend that has spread throughout all airlines over the, let's say the past decade. It used to be that when you book a flight, it was obvious that you wanted to take a big bag with you and that was just included in the fare. Well, nowadays we know it's not like that. And a lot of times the least expensive fare and even some of the more expensive fares for flights don't include a checked bag. Well, that is one of the amazing things about reaching the status that I have is I automatically get a free checked bag, and on some flights I can even take two. Not that I would ever do that, but I could. All right, I promised I would show you an example of how much money this saved. So let's go and pretend we're gonna book a flight.
All right, for this example, I am going to log out of my account and pretend like I don't have any status because then that will show me the normal price basically that everyone gets. The same imaginary trip here from Hamburg to Orlando, 12th of February to the 19th of February. Going to take this one again. You can see here the lowest fare only includes a cabin bag, does not include a checked bag. You cannot choose your seat in advance. Ticket changes are permitted for a €200 fee and the possible difference of the fare, and it's not refundable. And if we move up here to the flex fare, that includes the handbag. It also allows me one checked bag, and it is the only one of these fares that will allow me to pick my seat in advance. So if you're traveling with somebody else or with a group of people and you want to be sure that you're sitting together, you're going to need to pay to pick out your seat in advance. It says ticket changes are permitted, but you will only pay the possible fare difference, and this is also refundable. Then for the return leg, let's see what is the least expensive option here. This one is $390. All the same perks here. It is the flex fare. And the total fare that it comes up with here is $779.22.
So without being logged in, without using any sort of mileage program or status, getting all those things is going to cost €779. Honestly, that's actually not a bad price. Maybe we should go back to Orlando in February. So now let me log in and book the exact same itinerary with my status, and you'll see there's a pretty big difference.
Here we are again at the beginning, Hamburg Airport to Orlando. Same dates. Since I'm logged in now, it should show me how many miles and XP points I get. And you can see here now, if I book the least expensive fare with the status that I've earned, I get the handbag, which is obvious, but I also get to check a bag. I also get to choose my seat before I check in, and then I get the miles, the XP points, and the changes are permitted with the $200 or 200 euro fee. But these are things that if I didn't have the status, I would have had to pay much more for. So I'm going to take this option, then look again for the least expensive option going back. I think that was that this one? And the price has gone down to 459 euros and 22 cents. That's like 300 euros difference just because I have the status and those perks are extended to me now every time I travel with KLM, Air France, Delta, or one of their partners.
The same flight with more or less the exact same goodies is only costing me 459 euros, which is a difference of over 300 euros. That's more than 300 US dollars. If you didn't get it yet, do you get it now? And like I said, I don't know why this took me so long to figure out, and I feel kind of silly about it, but hey, learning by doing. That is one of the mottos of the very unofficial travel guides. Sometimes I make the mistakes, so you don't have to. You're welcome, friends. XP points are something that are really easy to get a lot of if you're flying just 2 or 3 times, but the way to do it is by booking like economy plus or business class or first class. You can see when you are looking at the different fares and the different things that are included, each one offers you a different amount of miles and a different amount of XP points. So if we go to economy plus, you can see it's more XP points. And if we go to business, you can see it's even more. For the current period, I'm already into silver on my way to keeping silver. So that means when the grace period or whatever rolls over, at the moment, I would lose all my XPs and basically start from 0 again, and then have to get more than 100 XPs to become silver again. But if what's 100 minus 32? 68, right? So if I gain 68 more XP miles before the grace period is over, then I will stay silver in the next period. And if I don't make it, and I might not, then I have to start all the way from 0 again. So it'd be cool if I can make it there, and who knows, we'll see. But if I wanted to make it to gold, then I have to gain 180 XP points before the next period. And honestly, I don't see that happening. But if I did get to gold, not only do I then earn even more miles for each euro spent and get all the goodies that I already have, but then I also get Sky Priority status, which gets me in the fastest lines. The fastest line at check-in, the fastest line at security, and the fastest line into the plane. In addition to that, you also get to go into the lounge. And depending on what airport you're in and how long the layover is, going into the lounge can be a really nice thing. I've been into a few lounges now. Once because I was flying with Marcus, who was flying in business class, and he got to take me into the lounge with him, and that was in Atlanta, I think. And the reason that getting into the lounge is so nice is because, first of all, you're just out of the hustle and bustle in the normal airport. And if you want to, freshen up a little bit, you can even take a shower if you want to. But airport bathrooms are not always the nicest bathrooms if you need to go to it. And the lounge bathrooms are usually much nicer than the normal bathrooms in the airport. Probably the biggest bonus, though, are the included food and drinks. So if you have a 3-4 hour layover in an airport, of course, what are you going to do other than get something to eat and drink? And we know airports are not famous for having the least expensive food. So with lounge access, there is a full buffet, there is a bar, there's desserts, there's cocktails, beer, wine, and you just eat it. And that also is going to save you 18, 25, $30 a person depending on how long your layover is and how hungry you are, or if it's happy hour or not. So of course, another reason to stick with the airline, keep gaining those points, and then if you are going to be traveling a lot, it's just going to make those future trips more enjoyable. All right, now let's talk about once you've got all these miles, how do you spend them and what can you spend them on? Let me tell you something that I've learned. Frequent flyer miles are not something that you're supposed to just put on the shelf and let them gather dust. Once you have enough for a free flight, it's time to spend them on a free flight. They're constantly rolling over and they expire, and you don't want to lose them because you work so hard to get them. And at the moment, from the flights that I've taken within the last period, I have gained a little over 33,000 miles. And let's just go try to book a flight for 33,000 miles and see what I can get.
All right, back to the main page here, and you can see I'm still logged in. And when you're booking a flight, you can either choose to just book the flight and then pay with cash money, or you can book with miles. So I'm going to click on there, and I decided to take a route that I think many people will be able to relate to. I know a lot of the people who watch my videos are in North America, so I've taken Minneapolis to Atlanta, and you can see my miles are definitely enough to get a flight from Minneapolis to Atlanta and back. You can never really get it, as far as I know, for completely free. There are always fees that you have to pay, but a flight from Minneapolis to Atlanta and back for 34 euros, which is about 37 US dollars. I mean, honestly, that's not a bad price. And those are the kind of things that you can spend your miles on.
Not only can you use the miles to book like a full flight, but you can also use them to book an upgrade, which is kind of tricky. And in fact, it's not something I've ever done successfully, but maybe I should. You can also use miles to book rental cars, to book hotel rooms, but from the websites that I have looked at that talk about the best thing to do with your miles, most of them say you definitely shouldn't use them to buy like a new cooking set, because you probably can buy the cooking set for much cheaper than what the price of the flight would be that you can get with the miles. So don't use your miles for that unless you have so many miles you just don't know what to do with them. And if you do have that many miles, you can give some to me if you want. There are also ways that you can give miles to friends and family if you're not going to be using all them, and that makes a nice gift too. And if you don't have any more travel to book, and if you don't have any friends who need your miles, you can also donate your miles to good causes as well. If you are somebody who is a frequent traveler expert, please let me know ways that I can optimize everything that I've talked about today. Like I said, it might be surprising that I'm kind of new to this world, but I'm trying to really get into it. I'm trying to squeeze everything I can out of my miles. So let me know if you have any advice, and of course, if I got anything wrong. And speaking of getting things wrong, now comes the time on Sunday Sofa Time where I comment on your comments live on air. In last week's Sunday Sofa Time, I talked about a similar subject, how you can gamble in the casino to earn points that then earn you goodies on the cruises. These comments are on that video, and I learned a lot. And that's one of the things I love about being part of this community is I put information out there and I get more information back, and then everybody who's watching the videos and reading the comments can profit from that. So in that video, I said that the way that the information is listed on the Royal Caribbean website, you'd have to spend like over $12,000 to gain the status that gets them to invite you to a free cruise. But I've read in so many comments now, it's not exactly that much. In fact, a good friend of mine, if you watched my video of visiting the llama farm, it's Jessie. She is on a Royal Caribbean cruise right now, and she started with $200, won a couple jackpots, kept playing, and she already has gotten the letter in her room inviting her to a free cruise. So she started with $200. She did not start with $12,000. The first comment is from Chris Anderson. Chris writes, You can't go by that sheet. I spend $100 a day in the casino. My last 9 cruises with Royal Caribbean have been free. 2 of those cruises I didn't even play. I haven't been on Carnival in several years, and I just received several free cruise offers. So apparently, in some instances, you only need to spend $100 a day in the casino, and you'll already get free cruises. Next comment is from Brenna Rizzardi. Hey Brenna. Brenna writes, I don't think it works as you are stating. I don't claim to know the formula, but I have been Prime for years and I am positive I never gambled $12,000 in a year. I always set a budget before I cruise and it gets recycled during the cruise. And sometimes I have a nice win to take home. Yes, this is something else that I got wrong in the video, or let's say I didn't get it exactly right. They do have these numbers set. For instance, for the one level, it was 12,500, I think, but that's not how much you need to like recycle through the machines in one cruise. It's spread out over the course of 1 year. Final comment is from Brian East. Brian writes, the casino is not a win-win situation, but getting points for something you were gonna do anyways is a plus. And that's just like when you're flying. Like I said, if you're just going to be flying 1 or 2 times a year, then, the points aren't going to really add up and get you anything. So in that sense, just look for the cheapest flight. But if you know you're going to be flying a lot anyways, then stick with one airline and gain the points. Yeah, Brian says it's kind of like getting points for flying or using a credit card. The time frame to collect the points is a year, so if you cruise several times in a year, it's easier to get to Prime, which also means you get to enjoy your benefits on more cruises as well. But yeah, you could take the money, the real cost would be around $1,500, and pay for your own drinks and cruise, but then you have to ask yourself, are you really not gonna gamble? I think that's what Brian means. For those who don't gamble, this isn't a choice, which, yeah, that's good advice. So like Brian says, if you know you want to be cruising anyway, and if you know you're going to be gambling anyway, then why not just reach the limits and then get it for basically free? Before I say goodbye, let me just remind you again that Christmas is right around the corner, and if you're looking for a stocking stuffer, check out my book, Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship. It's perfect for people who like to read, who like to travel, and would be interested in reading 10 stories of true weird things that have happened to me while traveling the world, not only having to get stitches on a cruise ship, but forgetting I had a knife in my bag, getting a sign from God, and getting abandoned naked at the side of a lake and having to take the train back home in your swimsuit. That just happens to everybody, doesn't it? If you don't have a copy yet, check out Getting Stitches on a Cruise Ship, available on Amazon now. And thank you for spending this part of your Sunday or whatever day it is with me here in front of the red sofa. Next Wednesday's travel vlog is going to be from our day in Cozumel, where we went to Wet Wendy's and Pancho's backyard. So if you're into cocktails, if you're into melted cheese, and if you're into being hot and sweaty, make sure you check back for that in a couple of days. I'm Morgan from the Very Unofficial Travel Guides. See you then.